All right, let's dive into one of the wildest comeback stories in business history. We're talking about a journey from being a total punchline to becoming a global empire, all because of a shoe that, let's be honest, the world absolutely loved to hate.
So you have to ask, right? How on earth does a shoe that was officially called one of the worst inventions ever turn into a 33,000 crore brand? I mean, it sounds completely impossible. But the answer is this incredible mix of brilliant strategy and just perfect timing.
So to understand this, we've got to rewind, and our story starts in a pretty unexpected place, a boating trip in the Caribbean.
So picture this. Three buddies from the US are out on a sailing trip, and they come across this really unique foam clog. Now, it was definitely not a fashion statement, but wow, was it lightweight, super comfortable, and just perfect for walking around on a boat deck. And that right there, that was the spark.
And just like that, in 2002, the Crocs brand was born. And their mission? It was refreshingly simple. They weren't trying to be cool, they weren't chasing trends. The one and only goal was to make a shoe that was unbelievably lightweight and comfortable. That's it. That was the whole idea.
Now, the company had some pretty good growth right out of the gate. But then, oh man, the tides started to turn. The world took a good long look at the Crocs, and pretty much everyone decided it was ugly. And this is where the brand's journey just takes an absolute nosedive, from a cool new thing to a national joke.
You see, the very thing that made the shoe different, its unique, wholly, clog-like shape, suddenly became its biggest enemy. The design was, let's just say, polarizing, and the critics were not quiet about it. It very quickly became the shoe that everyone just loved to hate on.
And then they hit rock bottom. I mean, absolute rock bottom. In 2010, the legendary Time magazine put Crocs on its list of the 50 worst inventions. Now, this wasn't just a bad review. For a brand that you wear, this is basically a cultural death sentence.
And all that public ridicule, it had real, devastating consequences for their business. The jokes weren't just jokes anymore. They hit their bank accounts, and they hit them hard. Sales just cratered, and the company that started with such a simple, great idea was now staring down the barrel of bankruptcy.
But, and this is the crazy part of the story, they didn't give up. Instead of just folding, the team at Crocs actually doubled down. They just refused to let the insults define them and started the long, hard journey of staging a comeback. This timeline really tells the whole story, doesn't it? You see the simple start way back in 2002. Then, bam, that crushing blow from Time magazine in 2010. And look at that gap. They spent years just trying to survive, even tried some new designs in 2016. But the real game changer, the moment that would flip everything on its head, was still to come.
And this is where the story gets really wild. The catalyst for Crocs' legendary comeback wasn't some clever marketing campaign or getting a huge celebrity to wear them. Nope. It was a global pandemic.
Think about it. When the entire world went into lockdown in 2020, everything changed for us, right? Overnight, our priorities just flipped. We stopped caring so much about how we looked and started caring a whole lot more about how we felt. And for a brand built entirely on comfort, this was their moment.
All of a sudden, the daily question for millions and millions of people changed. It went from, how do I look for the office, to, what's the most comfortable thing I can wear while working from my living room? Public fashion went on the back burner, and at-home comfort became king.
So, as millions of us were cooped up inside, the demand for easy, comfy footwear just exploded. And which brand was perfectly positioned to meet that demand? The one that had been all about comfort from the very beginning, even when the rest of the world was laughing at them.
So what did this lockdown miracle actually mean in terms of numbers? Well, the results are just staggering. Crocs went from being a cautionary business tale to a global sensation, and it felt like it happened overnight.
I mean, we're talking about explosive growth. While so many other businesses were struggling during that time, the market for Crocs just surged. In just a few short years, their sales went from recovering to, well, to just astronomical levels.
Which brings us to this incredible number. Today, the brand that was once literally a joke is a 33,000 crore empire. It is an absolutely mind-boggling valuation that completely answers the question we asked at the very beginning.
So what are the big lessons here? First, what people think about you isn't permanent. It can change. Second, sometimes your so-called weakness, like an ugly design, is actually hiding your greatest strength. In this case, it was comfort. And finally, sometimes the biggest opportunities aren't something you create,
They just happen. You just have to be ready for them.
And all of this leaves us with a final thought to chew on. The Crocs story proves that an idea that gets laughed at today can become the icon of tomorrow. It really makes you wonder, what's the next ugly idea out there that's just waiting for its moment to prove that it's secretly brilliant? Thanks for tuning in.